Hello class and welcome to Unit 4. The syllabus explains the Unit 4 assignment that you must accomplish during this lesson. You are to choose an organization of your choice, one that you have worked for or may be working for now or that you might wish to work for, and there's a few things that you must do. We need to describe the function of the organization as it relates to the organizational structure, the culture, and the design of the organization. And then you need to provide some examples how the organizational design can help a company achieve a competitive advantage, deal with contingencies, increase efficiency, and manage change. So what I thought I would do for just a few minutes is tell you about the company that I worked for over 25 years. The company is Walmart. I hope that you're familiar with Walmart. I know that many of the products that is made in your company is sold in Walmart and many other big box retailers around the world. So I thought I would just take a few minutes and just talk about my experience with Walmart as it relates to this particular assignment. So Walmart, we all know, is a huge organization, probably the largest company in the world as far as employees, retail dollars. Maybe some of the oil companies may be a little higher in sales based on the cost of oil and gasoline, but Walmart is a huge company. But they didn't start off that way. They started as a very small company in the state of Arkansas by a man named Sam Walton. I had the privilege of meeting Sam Walton many times and heard him speak many times about the growth of the company and what he wanted the company to be. One of the most important things that he believed was that the people in the company made the difference. He was a big advocate of the employee and of the customer. So the structure of that company in the early days, back in the 60s and the 70s, was a very flat structure. There were not a whole lot of management individuals between Sam Walton and then the stores. So the structure was very flat. And as you look through the study guide for this unit, you will talk about the flat structure of an organization. Well, the organization at that time was very flat. Most of the help was needed in the stores and in the warehouses to get product to the stores. And then the rest was left up to the store employees and the management of those stores to get that service out to the customer, get the products out, be a part of the community, and then relay back up what was happening to top management. But it was a very flat structure. As the company grew and more layers of management was added, the structure of the company began to get taller. There began to be more individual in management positions between the store and the president of the company. And into the 80s, when I started in the 90s, more and more layers of management began to get in between the president, the highest position, and those workers in the stores. And so the company began to be very tall. So the structure changed. And what happens when you go from a very flat structure to a tall structure is you lose a lot of communication. You know, once a story passes from one person to the next and to the next, sometimes the story changes. It's not the same story when it gets to the end. Well, that's what began to happen. Some of those ideas that top management had, by the time it got filtered down to the employees in the store to put into operation, it was much different. There was much understanding. Therefore, the expectations were not met that top management had because of the tall structure of the management at the company at that time. And when I left Walmart and retired in 2008, the structure had grown even taller. There were more folks at the local level, at the market level, at the district level that oversaw different parts of the operation, such as HR and payroll and scheduling, to logistics, compliance, just got very tall. And like I said, when that gets tall, a lot of communication begins to fall. Something else that Sam Walton was always famous for was the culture of the company. When the company started, we would travel to Arkansas for year-end meetings. We would get to take our spouse with us. Our wife would go. and they would have a program for our wife for 2 or 3 days while we sat in meetings, talk about merchandise, talk about marketing, talking about shrink control, all of those things that were important to the store. We met on for those 2 or 3 days, and we would have dinner, and Sam Walton might come and sit beside you while you ate dinner with your family, and you just talked to him like anyone else. Well, by the time I retired in 2008, the culture of the company totally changed. We used to have picnics for employees. We no longer did that. We used to have parties during holidays such as Christmas, and a lot of that changed to where it was nothing much more than just a meal at a local restaurant. It was not that gathering. It was not that relationship building atmosphere that we had when the structure was less tall and more flat. And then the design of the organization began to change. Many positions were eliminated, or the name was changed, and those individuals in the old position had to reapply for the new position, and they did not know if they were going to have a job in 6 weeks or not. So a lot of things change when the organizational structure begins to get taller. The culture of the organization can change almost overnight, and the design of the company can change based on different things than maybe the founders had started. I remember meeting Sam Walton in a store back in the late 80s, and he was so personable, and he would ask about, how's your family? Where do you live? You know, are you going to stay here? Do you have college education? What are your plans? Where are you going? He was interested in who you were and what you were doing, and he would always say, well, how can I help you? What can I do to make it better? And as time went by into the 90s and the 2000s, and Sam Walton had passed away, and the last person that worked for him in Walmart had left the company, all that was left were individuals that had never worked with Sam Walton, never met Sam Walton, and the culture of the company began to change. And that is when I knew that it was time for me to retire and find a much different career. Now, Walmart did allow me to go to school to earn my master's degree, and when I earned my master's degree, many of the things that I learned while taking my courses was exactly what Walmart was implementing across the company. I began to see why the culture was changing, because the individuals that were now coming into the company were not just the folks that built up Walmart. They were MBAs. They had degrees. They had ideas, and I was reading about them and studying about them and writing lessons about them just like this one, and I began to understand why the company was changing, because the culture of the individuals that was coming in was changing. So one thing I learned, that every person you hire into your company, there's a chance that they're going to dilute the culture of the organization that has been around maybe for years and years. And I'm looking forward to getting to your country in a few weeks so I can talk to you and meet you face to face about your company that you work for, and how the organizational structure affects you, and the culture can be surrounded by change. So let's talk a few minutes about competitive advantage. Walmart established a competitive advantage on price and location and caring for their people. That was their competitive advantage. Walmart had a saying that we should strive for excellence, provide excellent customer service, and respect the individual. That was the three premises that the company was founded on, and we kept those up for years and years. I will have to say, in my own experience, that those have begun to erode, if not already gone, and are probably not mentioned very much in the company anymore. But at that time, it gave them a competitive advantage. Walmart was always known for price, and how did they get such a low price on products, and how did they get so much of that product to the store at such a low price? Well, the company would actually buy in bulk, and when I say in bulk, I mean thousands of dozens of a product. And they would all ship to different warehouses, and then those warehouses would ship out to stores. So they got the absolute best price that anybody could find on a product. And then since the price was so low, they could mark it up enough to make a fairly decent profit for the retail industry. And with the expenses low and the prices low, they made a good profit and yet was able to have that competitive advantage. Another advantage that Walmart had was its people. Slogans that we used to have were, our people make the difference. What is important is you, talking about the employee. And there were many years that folks from our stores from all over the country would get selected to go to the stockholders meeting in Arkansas. And they would be a part of that corporate process. And for years, those folks would come back to our stores and tell about their experience and how much they learned about the company, and how that culture that Sam Walton had built was alive and well, and they were excited when they came back. That competitive advantage with people was very important. So we had price and people, and then we had product. Many companies that wanted to sell at Walmart stores had to be very competitive, had to be very convincing that their product was solid, that it would sell, that they could sell it at a good price, and that profit could be made. So all of those things built into a competitive advantage that Walmart had that no other retailer had. It became the largest company in the world, all because of those things. Now, Sam Walton passed away before Walmart became the #1 Fortune 500 company. But once we did, the company just kept on rolling because it just wanted, I believe, wanted to see just how big they could get. But they left out some things. The culture began to erode, like I talked about earlier. The person in the store that was dealing with the customer one-on-one very quickly became not the most important person in the company, but it moved up the ladder, up that tall structure that we talked about. So the competitive advantage of people was not the same. Now, like I say, all this is my opinion, 25 years of experience, but talking with many individuals that have left the company after I did, agreed that these are things in the company that need to be changed and corrected. The second one was deal with contingencies. If you look at research in Fielder's theory, contingency theory, that everything that happens was contingent on something else happening. Walmart is a company that learned how to deal with contingency very well. Back in the early days, when something wasn't selling, we would find out why. What was the problem? You know, what was contingent on us selling more of those products? Sometimes it was price, sometimes it was quality, sometimes it was availability. All those things we would deal with. And then come along some issues with compliance that we had to deal with, and a lot of other things become contingent on us being compliant. So Walmart, back in the late 80s and early 90s, was just jumping on everything they could think of so that they could be in compliance. And what was contingent on that compliance was sometimes being able to sell certain products in a certain state, or transport certain products across state lines. There was a lot of things that Walmart had to learn how to deal with so that these contingencies that they had to deal with could be a positive experience and not a negative experience. The next one was increased efficiencies. Walmart was always looking for ways to save some money, always looking for a way to be more efficient. Like I stated earlier, they would buy product in bulk and then ship it to different warehouses, then ship it to stores, trying to get the lowest cost possible for a product. To be more efficient, we came out with computer-based scheduling. The system knew how much we sold by item. We knew how much we sold by the hour, by the day, last year, last week, last month, last year for all of those time frames, and so we knew exactly what was selling. So let's take an example. A box of laundry detergent, we knew how many facings we had on the side counter of that item. We knew how many of those items we sold per day, per week, per month. We knew how long it took it to get to the store from the shipper. So Walmart devised logistic systems for the trucking to get to the vendor's warehouse, to get to our warehouse, to get to our store. We knew exactly what the lead time was for all that to happen. We knew exactly how many we had on the shelf. We knew exactly how much we had in the back room. We knew how much the shelf held, and we knew what the average day sales were. So the system began to predict how many boxes of laundry detergent we would sell in a day, and it would automatically place an order at the right time. So when that shelf quantity was getting low, that some would come in the back room and then it would flow to the counter. Now, that didn't work just right for every item, but for the vast majority of items in a store, and a Walmart store carries roughly 120,000 different units, it worked most of the time. Another area they looked for efficiency was in payroll. We changed our system to a computer-based scheduling system. So since we knew how much product we were selling, we could determine how many items a customer would buy on a given day and how much a cashier could scan out the system per hour. So we knew how many cashiers we needed every hour of every day. So the computer system would then design a schedule based on how many cashiers needed to come in at a particular time for efficiency. Not only efficiency for the store, but efficiency for the customer. Let's just say on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock was the busiest time of the week. Well, then the system knew that we needed to schedule more cashiers at that particular time because that's when we sold the most items for that particular week. And as Christmas came and other holidays came, those items would pick up, and we knew how much the percentage would be, so therefore more cashiers would come in. We also knew how much sales we would have for a particular department. And so we would know how much employee help to schedule for that particular department. Say during the early spring, we knew that the garden center sales was going to pick up. So they would schedule more help in the garden center. On Father's Day, around Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, and all of these holidays that we have here in the States, they knew how much help to schedule to benefit the store to be efficient, but then also to be with that particular customer, so the customer got good service as well. So in logistics and human resources and customer service, all of those things the company did to improve efficiency. And a lot of that went with the tall structure, because as the structure got taller, there was more individuals that were available to analyze all of that stored data, sales, customer traffic, and all of that. That's an advantage of the tall structure, because you have more people that are intervening in that process. But there again, the communication is hard to flow through all those individuals in that tall structure. And the last thing is to manage change. Walmart was constantly changing. We used to say the only thing constant with Walmart is change. And Sam Walton had a slogan that said, "Don't be so set in your ways that you cannot change." Everything changes every day. No one day is ever like before. And you should learn from yesterday what to do or not to do tomorrow. And if we can just learn that premise that we're constantly going to be changing, we're going to have to be reviewing and renewing. We're going to have to change how things operate, because when we learn something today, we should apply it tomorrow. And then when big changes come, we need to make sure that it's over communicated. in one of our books, From Good to Great, the author talks about over communication is a way to manage change. If we just say we're going to change this and we don't communicate that to all the parties involved, what happens is we lose a lot of the effectiveness of the change, because individuals that's ultimately going to have to be involved in implementing the change does not see how it benefits them or the company or the customer. A lot of times rumors get started, employees begin to talk, and they're unsure of what the change is going to do, and therefore they don't implement it correctly because they don't understand how it's going to benefit them. So I know I've been talking for quite a few minutes about this assignment, but I wanted to give you just an example of how you can take this assignment and learn from it by talking about a company structure that you're familiar with, or you can design your own company as the syllabus says, how this relates to culture and the design of an organization, talking about the competitive advantage, dealing with contingencies, increase efficiency, and how to manage change. So I hope this video was helpful. I'll have some more videos about this particular unit that you can watch. Again, I look forward to seeing you soon in class, and I hope that you have a great day.